Hello everyone and welcome to Game 5 in the series between NaniWa versus Leenock here on Tall Dream Altar. Leenock spawning as the blue Zerg on the top right hand side of the map. Meanwhile NaniWa spawning as the red Protoss. Protoss versus Zerg here in the Zelnaga Caverns as this game does get underway, and we'll figure out what will be happening between these players. Now, taking a look at the matchup so far, NaniWa is down 3-1 in the series. Things are not looking good for him. He really needs to perhaps open up with a different opening, and it looks like he is not going to be opening up with a different opening, and instead going to open up with a Forge Fast expansion once more. Now, this is going to be a little bit tricky for NaniWa, as the opening here on Zelnaga Caverns is perhaps one of the largest openings to try to execute a Forge Fast expansion. And normally you do need 2 cannons in order to protect all of the necessary buildings, especially from roaches and zerglings. So we'll see how this will all play out. Meanwhile, it looks as though Leenock is going to be opening up here with a much more standard economic build, now training 3 drones at the same time. So waiting to build a 10 Overlord, as the drones do hatch right then and there, going into an extractor pool. And with the extractor pool, I would normally assume that he is not going to be going for a forge. So NaniWa, knowing the timing on this, knowing that it was not some sort of 7 pool, opting to go for a Nexus first as opposed to a forge first. Probe now wandering back and forth over here, making sure that if there is going to be a hatchery, he is well aware of it, as the Zerglings will be coming out in about 40 seconds time. Nexus now coming into play. This probe most likely going to hang around for a little while right here, build a forge right here, perhaps a gateway. But then this is the situation. If you put a photon cannon here, you can protect your forge and your gateway, but then you can't protect your Nexus. If you put a photon cannon here or here, then you can kind of protect all of your buildings, but that's only from Zerglings. And we've seen Leenock use a lot of roach pressure as well. Zerglings are now being trained in addition to that metabolic boost. Currently, there is still 1 drone on gas, so I believe at some point he will be going for roaches, as he doesn't want to get too many minerals at this state, or not fall too far behind in terms of gas. Now, it looks as though that gateway is coming in, and there is that photon cannon. The photon cannon will be here to try and protect the Nexus, but the forge and the gateway are both very, very low hit point buildings as well. And Zerglings may be able to take down the forge here, and then roaches should be able to take down the forge and the gateway, unless we get stalkers and sentries first. In come the Zerglings now making the run down. We are going into that roach warren already. Harvester count 17 to 16 right now, so only a slight advantage for NaniWa. NaniWa getting up that second Nexus will have additional chrono boost and be able to double train probes, and that is going to be a huge comeback, as those Zerglings now need to test that front door and figure out what they can do. There you go, the Zerglings are in position, and yes, that photon cannon just slightly too far away. A Zealot is now being chrono boosted. It is still going to take some time. It may be double chrono boosted out in order to be built in about 18 seconds or 19 seconds, and it does seem to be the case. The Zealot will be able to push itself out in just a moment, but it does take 3 shots to take down a Zergling. There's 1, there's 2. It backs off in time, and down goes that one forge. So that forge completely opened up now. The Zerglings causing pressure and panic inside the base. 1 probe does get taken down. The forge taken down, as well as the Zerglings with that metabolic boost able to deal so much damage and disrupt so much mining. The Zerglings just dancing back and forth. 1 Zealot getting in another slice there, but another probe does get taken down total. In comes the roaches now. So this follow-up play absolutely brilliant, as we now see no gas. One unit's currently still on gas, and the roaches are going to really be able to apply a lot of pressure, as this photon cannon is a little bit too far away. So as long as the roaches hide down over here, they will be able to get in that damage. The Zealot needs to be careful, as the Nexus may fall. The Nexus already down to 500 shields and dropping very, very quickly. A Stalker needs to be added. It's being chrono boosted, and that is causing NaniWa to lose a lot of precious mining time as well, as the Nexus down to 700 hit points, 600 hit points. Is it going to fall? That is the question there. The Nexus dangerously low, and if it does fall, it is going to set NaniWa behind very, very, very far back. and down goes that Nexus, supply blocking him at 34/26. And now Leenock with a huge advantage, having up his second hatchery, and now he will be able to train up more probes, and now attempting to put pressure on this forge. So the forge, you can see why a forge fast expansion is so difficult on the Xel'Naga Caverns, trying to get some damage onto that stalker there. That forge is going to fall. It looks like a sentry will be added in just a moment, and now the forge does get taken down. Nope. There it is. It gets taken down, and now there's the force field to try to protect it. But I believe the gateway can still take a lot of damage still. Now, if the roaches do decide to come back around on this side, they can force a cancellation of the Nexus. Warp gate tech, though, has been completed. Additional gateways being added, and we'll see what NaniWa tries to do in the long run. Leenock at 51, food over 60. NaniWa at 38. Harvester advantage definitely in favor of Leenock, sitting at 33 compared to 27. And it will continue to grow for at least a little while longer, as a macro hatch or a third base should be established sometime soon. Most likely, I would say a macro hatch, as there is no easy third base here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. Zerglings now testing the waters once more, sees that there is a Nexus. The Nexus is about to be completed, but the loss is already very high. 887 compared to 106. Production Nexus about to be completed. There's that another gateway, so there are going to be plenty of gateway units now. But the roaches, as soon as they get that Glio reconstitution, which should be started after the tech to layer, and there's that macro hatch as I mentioned, and here goes those destructible rocks. So Leenock playing beautifully this game, and knowing really how to handle NaniWa. NaniWa, perhaps his games were scouted out by Leenock. Leenock now figuring out that strategy. For some reason, canceling that hatchery and now going for spine crawlers instead, as he does see a large army of stalkers, sentries, and even a probe making its way out. The rock should get taken down well in time. 3 spine crawlers, perfect defense for those stalkers and those sentries, as a probe now gonna perhaps warp in a pylon down over here to keep track of this location and scout it out. Creep tumors are also being added once more. Roaches moving very quickly, even without the Glio reconstitution on creep. Spine crawlers about to be done, as a probe now makes its way over to this Xel'Naga tower. And there is some Zerg or a probe here. That probe most likely will get taken down, as those Zerglings do move very quickly when they're all juiced up. NaniWa now sitting on a lot of sentries. He does need to go into a robotics facility, though, in order to really utilize that the energy and the force fields on those sentries very well. If he doesn't have the right AoE, he's going to just fall apart, as we now see a round of drones coming out and a Tech 2 infestation pit for infestors. Roaches about to get that Glio reconstitution, only 30 seconds away. Are they going to be knocking on this front door is the question. The roaches may just try to focus down this photon cannon. There it goes, but there's force fields in position as well. Down goes the photon cannon, and now going after the Nexus. The Nexus getting surrounded once more. The Stalkers really unable to engage, as the Nexus is in its own way, and the sentries finally pushing their way through, and there's the burrow. A brilliant play by Leenock, and burrowing these roaches. All of them are going to get back up to full hit points, and now put pressure once more. Continuing to attack, sentries getting destroyed. There's some more force fields. The robotics bay now being added, but I don't see an observer, as we are now going into tunneling claws. Continuing that pressure, preventing the shields from the Nexus from being able to recharge. Stalkers are in position, and there you go. There's another burrow, but in comes the observer finally, and now the units are in a run. And Leenock, that cute play doesn't look like it's going to work out all too well for him, as many of the roaches have been trapped down here, and now the more roaches are still reinforcing. Robotics bay about to be completed. We should be getting into all of those colossi, as I mentioned, but a lot of the sentries are now rather low on energy, so he's not going to be able to split up the armies nearly as well, as we are going into a third base at the 3 o'clock location. Sentries and roaches, this mass roach army that are upgraded 1-0, also getting tunneling claws with that extra health regen. That is going to be very helpful in order to battle up and take and beat up against those stalkers. If you did not know, a roach can take damage from a stalker and never die if it's burrowed, just because of the amount of regeneration on a roach. I believe a roach regenerates at 10 hit points a second while burrowed and with tunneling claws. Is that correct? And there you go. Yeah, that is about 10 hit points a second. Also, the natural 1 armor of a roach and the slower speed of a stalker makes way for that, as those roaches are going to be able to burrow and get back underneath. Tunneling claws have been completed. There is, 2 infestors in this group. Fungal growths are going to play a very, very critical part of this battle, as the harvester count now shows an almost 20 worker advantage, as drones have been transferred over to the 3 o'clock location, and that has definitely not been scouted out just quite yet. Observer trying to figure out where his opponent is. Roach is looking like they're going to take down the gold minerals here, and then have this drone grow up to be a hatchery and keep up on bases. One of the ways to make sure that NaniWa doesn't look for this base here is to expand here and look like that is the base he's trying to go for. Colossi, Zealots, Stalkers, Sentries all being added together now. Only 2 Colossi in this group, a 3rd Colossi being added, as the roach is now moving away. Stalkers are going to engage. There's a fungal growth, but in comes a nice attack as well. There's another fungal growth. Roach is battling it through, and are they going to be able to burrow underneath? They are going to burrow, but they do take a lot of damage. Roach is getting focus fired down by those stalkers. This hatchery over here may be in a bit of trouble. Stalkers are now making a move for it. There are a decent number of Colossi, and this ball is very, very large. The Protoss army, very, very devastating now, as we are now going into more roaches and infestors. Level 2 weapons upgrade, and no upgrades on those banelings. Roaches turning around to fight. Only mass roaches, and this may not be enough, but the banelings now forcing all the units to pull away. Banelings just getting unloaded, dealing a lot of splash damage here, as the Immortals and all those units are once again backing up. Still, a lot of creep to be had. Those roaches moving very, very fast, and now just going after those very expensive units. Colossi unable to really keep up. The Colossi should perhaps get up onto the cliff and then try to focus down even more of those units here. Is it going to be enough? I don't think so, and NaniWa overextending himself, now in trouble. 66 drones compared to 49. This Colossus is going to get taken over here. Massive roach play, just destroying the entire gateway and Colossi army of NaniWa. The roaches are now just in an exchange mode, knowing that they can't really win out on this fight if they try to retreat, trying to even up the losses. Stalkers may get taken down. No, that Stalker able to run away. And NaniWa sitting on about an even-sized army right until all of a bunch of more eggs just hatch. 66 drones compared to 49, a 17 worker advantage now, as the infestors and now banelings still being added here. Overlord's not spewing creep for some reason, but it looks like Leenock is going to be able to continue to press with his all of these creep tumors. Back over here, Leenock still mining away. 23 drones over here at this 3rd base. A very heavy saturation, as now we see a reestablishment of the gold mineral patch here. Roach is now making their way into the 3rd base of NaniWa. NaniWa going to be in a bit of trouble. Going to lose a lot of probes here. Perhaps even lose the Nexus. The Nexus taking a lot of damage already. Down to 500 hit points. Down to 50. There it goes. And now going to lose also this one photon cannon as well, as the infestor looking to get off a fungal growth. Is it going to be enough? Quickly gets sniped by the long range. And now the roaches should be forced to burrow and get away. Banelings are being dropped. Roaches continuing this pressure here. There's a fungal growth. And now battling it through, even still, probes being pulled from the mineral line in order to win this fight. An infestor very gung-ho walks into some lasers, as NaniWa now down to 46 probes compared to 65, I believe. And that is still not good, as the roaches burrow themselves, and NaniWa says congratulations. So NaniWa unable to even up the series and enforce a game 6. Leenock winning MLG Providence 2011. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.